Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is retired Lieutenant Colonel from the United States Marine Corps and now Program Manager of Entrepreneur Bootcamp for Veterans with Disabilities. That's actually one of the things we do and we'll talk about today. It's his first time on the show. Michael Zakea, welcome to the show for the first time.
Thanks so much, Sean.
Sort of a basic background of Entrepreneur Bootcamp for Veterans with Disabilities. I find this fascinating. Please tell us about it.
Sure. So we help post 9/11 veterans who have incurred a disability through service to start businesses. So we started the program in 2010. We've graduated 110 veterans in 5 years now, and we have started more than 90 businesses. We've helped 18 veterans get into full-time career track jobs, and we've helped another 10 get into a professional business education setting that would lead to a career in business.
Now, how was it decided back when this started that something like this was needed? Because you made a very interesting analogy that we talked about off the air. Think of regular boot camp. You go through it, okay? If you get through it, that's only the very beginning stage of what will be hopefully a long career, right? In your service of choice. But out in the real world, when maybe when they come back, once you kind of get that initial training or kind of have an idea of what you want to do, you're kind of lost. There's a sail, but you don't have anywhere to go. You don't know what direction to go in, right?
Yes, and so what happened was I was medically retired from the Marine Corps, and when I left service, I came to Connecticut and I retired here, and I went to UCONN to get an MBA, and I was in the right place at the right time. I was taking a class with a professor who was the dissertation thesis advisor for the guy at Syracuse University who started the overall national EBV. And so just in passing, they stayed in touch, and he was telling her, I just started this great program at Syracuse. And she said, oh my God, I have this guy in my class who would be great for this program. So
to run it, in
yes,
other words.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was in the fall of 2009. So we did analysis. We discovered that no veterans from New England at all had been through the program nationally. And it was still a small program. It's smaller than it is now. But obviously, New England is now underrepresented in the population of disabled veterans post 9/11. So
I mean, you have a lot of military bases here.
Yes, right. And so we knew that there was a market opportunity to provide this service to our veterans. So we basically did a business plan and we proposed it to UCONN and to Syracuse University, and we got approved by the General Assembly, and we said we'll be the New England Center for veteran entrepreneurship training.
Okay, so it's not just Connecticut then?
No, we do have a regional reach, as a matter of fact. So basically, out of the 110 veterans that we've had so far, a quarter are from Connecticut, another quarter are from New England in general.
But it's still pretty close driving for them for the most part,
that's
right?
what we try to do is get driving distance, basically.
So really, the main reason that UConn involved is because you happen to be a student there.
Yes.
You could have been somewhere else and maybe wherever you were at. But like you said before, right place, right time, everything came together.
Like so much of my life, absolutely.
Yeah, is that right?
Yes.
Can you talk about your life a little bit?
Sure. So I enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1985, 2 weeks after my 17th birthday. And
can you do it that early?
Yes,
Okay.
with parental permission.
Okay.
My father was a Marine, and I come from a family of Marines and Vietnam vets and World War II vets and all that stuff. So, just that's what you were going to do in my family. So I wound up getting an RTC scholarship, and I went to college, and I got commissioned in 1990. And I wanted to be a career guy. So during my career, I was in Guantanamo in 1993 for the Haitian refugee riots. And then in 1994, I went to Somalia right after Black Hawk Down.
Yeah.
And then I went to Haiti for the invasion of Haiti in 1994. And then I did a couple of tours on recruiting duty, what are called shore billets in the Marine Corps. And then I was on recruiting duty. I was in charge of enlisted recruiting in the Northeast United States on 9/11. So we did recruiting for the entire, 1/6 of the Northeast of the United States. And then I was qualified for a very specific job, and I got drafted, not drafted, but I got selected to go to Iraq in 2004, and I was part of a team that were the first military advisors that trained the first Iraqi Army battalion in Iraq. And that was at a time when the insurgency was just blowing up across the country. Very, very difficult, extensive, intense combat on a daily basis. And then my Iraqi battalion went to Fallujah in November of 2004, and we were part of the assault in the Second Battle of Fallujah. And we spent 6 weeks in urban combat, and that's where I was wounded. Then I came back in 2005, and I spent some time in the hospital, and then I was really non-functional, and the Marine Corps made the correct decision in vectoring me to a
less forward?
Well, a hospital unit,
Okay.
basically, to rehabilitate and recover from my wounds. And out of that, they retired me, and the rest is history, so to speak.
I don't want to get too off track
Sure.
here, but I would be remiss without asking you, an expert on this topic, with what's going on in Iraq now and ISIS, your opinion of the situation and what can and should be done at this point. Unless you feel uncomfortable.
No, I'm very comfortable
Okay.
talking about this, and I actually have been doing some presentations locally about the Islamic State. And I still talk to Iraqis who are on the ground, who are there.
Even to
and-
this day?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I do have some friends who have been both escaped and have been victimized by the Islamic State. I had testified to the Armed Forces Committee, the joint session of the Senate and House Armed Forces Committee in 2006, that I believe that what we should do is reinforce success where we had it, which was in the north with what is called Kurdistan. And we should cut a separate status of forces agreement with the Kurds and station there permanently on a rotating basis a military expeditionary force, and take forces from Japan and Germany and put them in and rotate them on a yearly basis to respond to regional geopolitical contingencies, much like the Islamic State. Nobody listened to me. Well, but at that time I said we will not know the results of starting this army for 10 years, and almost to the day. So I testified in June of 2006. We started the army in April of 2004. Almost to the day, April of 2014 is basically when the Iraqi army fell apart. Right now, the Iraqi army is completely ineffective.
Yeah, it's shambles, really.
They were supposed to have 14 combat-ready divisions, and we know at least 9 of them have either disintegrated or been completely defeated in combat by ISIS by a much smaller force.
Is it because they weren't trained properly, or should they have never been in that situation? Should American troops have not? Is it too early to pull out, or what do you think? It's all politics. And
here's what I know that my unit was trained properly, and we performed.
no, not the Americans.
Right.
I'm talking about the Iraqis.
Right. No, I'm talking about my Iraqi battalion.
Okay.
Was trained properly, and we performed well in combat. I really think that it's very poor leadership in the Iraqi army. It's all extraordinarily corrupt.
Yeah.
And so these guys, and when I was there was not the Shia Sunni sectarian divide. Now there is.
Yeah.
So it's really devolved into a loose coalition of sectarian militias fighting each other. And the centralized Iraqi government is not capable of doing anything. I think that the best solution for the United States would be if there was a tripartite solution. That is, the 3 basic groups, the Kurds, the Sunnis, and the Shias, all went their separate ways and basically disbanded all of Iraq.
So you split the country up then?
Yes.
Right, and there was talk of that. It didn't follow through. Wow. This is so fascinating to me, and I could talk to you about it all day, but I want to bring it back to what we're talking about here today. Entrepreneur Bootcamp for Veterans and Disabilities. Now, for a person who had intended to be just a lifelong Marine, and the fact that you couldn't do it, this is perfect for you because you could still sort of, what I like to call, stay in the game and
Right.
be involved with it.
Yes.
I equate this to like an athlete who maybe he can't play anymore, but he can still coach, or maybe he can go into the broadcast box
Right.
and do commentary. You're still in the game, still involved with the people that you care about and want to help too. And this is exactly what you're doing.
That's a really fantastic point. And this generation of combat veterans, the main complaint is the inability to access the workforce. And a lot of bad things come from that, what I call a reinforcing negative spiral of homelessness and long-term joblessness and poor credit, which prevents people from getting into safe, secure housing, et cetera. So, and obviously we had the gigantic recession that hit in 2008. So a lot of things came together to really make this an effective solution for veterans who are coming home and saying, hey, I can't get a job. In our last class in 2014, we had a woman who is a retired Air Force staff NCO. She was a Pentagon 9/11 survivor. She was in the building and so she retired from the Air Force. She was unemployed for 4 years, couldn't get a job. And how does a 9/11 survivor, everybody says, I remember 9/11, but
You would
won't
think
give
they'd have
anybody a job.
sympathy,
Right.
but
So, she came to our program, she started business, she got a job after she left us. So that's the kind of things that we're doing is, I really think we're making good on the long-term promise when people join the military that, if you do your 4 years, you do your time honorably, we will get you into a career position afterwards.
you have a future after.
Yes,
after
absolutely.
And on that note, let's take a break. I'm going to have you give the website out for people to go and learn more, and then we'll continue this conversation.
Sure. So the website is ebv.business.uconn.edu, or you can Google UCONN EBV.
We will take a short break and come right back because we have a lot more to get to. Retired Lieutenant Colonel of the United States Marine Corps, Michael Zakea, who's now the Program Manager for Entrepreneur Bootcamp for Veterans with Disabilities. We'll be right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is retired Lieutenant Colonel of the United States Marine Corps, Michael Zakea. He is the Program Manager for Entrepreneur Bootcamp for Veterans with Disabilities, basically starting a new life, a second life after service, correct?
Yes, Sean, that's right.
And, and UConn is involved because that just happened to be where you were going to school when this opportunity was presented to you, and it all came together for what you have now.
Right, it's really, really amazing. And when we started looking at bringing the EBV to UConn, and we started doing research, we found that Connecticut is really fertile ground for veteran-owned businesses. There are more than 42,000 veteran-owned businesses in our state that produce about $20 billion worth of state gross product. And that's a very excellent ratio compared to other states. So we thought that Connecticut is really a good place to have this boot camp.
Connecticut can benefit from this too, because if you can get them, the veterans, up and running, they will stay in the state. They will conduct business and have a business in the state instead of maybe potentially leaving if they didn't see any opportunity here.
Right, and that's one of the things that concerns the policymakers is a brain drain among people, working age people, basically 25 to 45, which does all kinds of things to the tax base, et cetera. So, there's a lot of good, a lot of positive effects that come from this program to help veterans start businesses. One of the things that we've done is we've started a Connecticut Veterans Chamber of Commerce because the feedback from the state's veteran business owners is that we have no representation in the General Assembly or to talk to the state executive. So we started that about 18 months ago, and we've been a very effective advocate in the General Assembly over the last 2 years. We've helped get a number of laws passed. In 2014, we helped get the Stolen Valor Act passed. We helped get the Military Occupational Specialty Act passed, which is a shortcut for people who were in service and had jobs in service rather than having to go through the state licensing requirements. If they did that job federally, they would get licensed automatically at the state level. And then just this past session, we got passed into law the state state income tax exemption for military retirees.
Ah, okay.
So, that's about 12,500 military retirees. It's going to return millions of dollars to our retirees every year for the foreseeable future.
Now, for those that are watching the show today and they're wondering, if either them themselves or maybe somebody they know, family member or something, can you get specific about who actually is eligible to be able to participate in this?
In the EBV? Or,
Right.
Okay, so it is any post 9/11 veteran.
Okay.
They must have a disability rating or a claim pending from either the VA or the DOD, and that's Veterans Administration or the Department of Defense. And they must have a other than dishonorable discharge. So we can take medical, we can take administrative, we can take general, but we can't take a bad conduct and we can't take dishonorable discharge.
Can you talk about some of the paths that people have taken, maybe some success stories about what they're doing now or what their plans are as far as business goes?
Sure, and this is the thing I love about this job is the stories, the
Yes.
success stories, and that's what keeps me getting up in the morning. A couple of years ago, we had two women who were from the same town in Rochester, and they didn't know each other before they applied to our program. And one had a master's degree in geospatial information systems, and that was her job in the Air Force. The other was an aviation operations officer. So we put them together, and they discovered that they both had a hobby in flying unmanned aerial vehicles. So they formed a business called New England UAVs, and they're one of a handful of companies in the country that are operating UAVs, and they have contracts with the state of New Hampshire to do this. So they're doing great.
And that's so popular now,
Right.
too. It's like the new thing now.
They have so many venture capitalists knocking down their doors trying to give them money because they want to.
They're on the cutting edge of that
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
now.
This is a multi-billion-dollar industry that's coming. We have a lot of people who've started computer businesses. About 25% of our veterans have started IT businesses. We have one guy who had a doctorate in law in cybersecurity law, and he was a founding member of U.S. Cyber Command. So he started a law practice advising corporations on cybersecurity, and he is a guy he's a real thought leader. He lectures for the CIA and the FBI and corporations on cybersecurity. So,
And that is a big issue now, too. You hear about all the hacking that's going on
absolutely.
now.
That's a gigantic issue. What else? I told you about the woman who's a post 9/11 veteran. She started a photography business that uses a technology which creates 3D photographs. It's really cool. It's amazing, as a matter of fact.
A lot of the things that you're describing, a lot of the people really get into technology stuff. Is it because of their training, or is it because they're creative thinkers? And I mean, it's all kind of like cutting edge stuff, or things that are on the cusp of really blowing up.
It's a combination of both. So one of the reasons why veteran unemployment is so high is because there's a technical term that economists use called skills bias technology change, right? And so an employer looks at a veteran as somebody who's been out of the business workforce for 4 or 8 years, whatever. So they think that they don't have the necessary technological skills to come in. So a lot of veterans get entry-level offers, but these veterans are really on cutting-edge technology. So part of what it is that they can't use, or they're not getting hired to use their technological skills.
They start their own business.
Right, exactly. And I have a video that we took when I was in Iraq in the summer of 2004. We used an unmanned ground vehicle to disarm an IED at a time when nobody really knew that that's what was going on. We were using they're called UGVs, unmanned ground vehicles, to disarm IEDs before it became a thing.
It's amazing just to hear. It's amazing to sort of get a little tease of what technology will be like in the future. I mean, we can't know for security reasons, but it's I think that we have confidence in knowing that our government and our military is ready. They're out there, and there's stuff that will amaze you and blow your minds.
Yeah, absolutely. And another growth area. So we have a guy who's doing prosthetics design, and this is another area of what's going to be gigantic growth is in using basically the Internet of Things, the blue chip or Bluetooth technology to control mechanical prosthetics, exoskeletons. That's another human performance enhancement through.
Oh yeah, like sort of mech stuff,
Yes,
right? Yeah,
absolutely. And that's another.
That's
area
cutting
where-
edge too.
Right.
My goodness,
Absolutely.
you see future soldiers out in the field with
Right.
that. Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's take one more break and come right back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay right there. So that is our show for today. Michael Zakea, anything else you want to say to the people if you've piqued their interest and maybe they want to learn more and be involved? We'll give out the website, but anything specifically you want to say?
Sure. So the website again is ebv.business.uconn.edu, or you can Google UCONN EBV. And if you know a veteran, or if you're a veteran and you're thinking about starting a business, reach out to us and we can help you, get you pointed in the right direction.
Absolutely. Retired Lieutenant Colonel of the United States Marine Corps, Michael Zakea, who's the program manager for Entrepreneur Bootcamp for Veterans and Disabilities. It's out of UConn, but it really serves all of New England for the most part, right? Fascinating stuff. Thank you for being on the show and enlightening us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Sean.
That is our show for today. You can see this show and many others on our YouTube site. Till next time, I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Take care.